This is my Benelli M4. My beautiful, sexy, awesome Benelli M4. Especially now considering some of the stuff that I've done to it. So back when I've done several videos on my Benelli M4, when I first got it, a lot of y'all were like pointing out some things about my Benelli M4 that honestly made me a little insecure. Because I knew what I was gonna do to it, but since I hadn't done it yet and y'all were pointing it out, it was making me feel insecure. Like some of y'all was like, well, you gotta get the tube extension on that thing, man. What are you doing? Or why don't you have the collapsible stock? You of all people should have the collapsible stock. And in my head, I was talking about all of y'all. I was cussing y'all out. Y'all aren't wrong, but I also knew what I was gonna be doing. So what this video is me talking through my Benelli M4 setup from the perspective of a home defense, self-defense shotgun. So, interestingly enough, a lot of people are familiar with this law called 922R. 922R is basically kind of like an import law that says, and I'm not gonna go into the details here, I'll do another video going into the details, but essentially this M4 gets shipped into the country in what they call a sporterized configuration. Now, you can make changes to it, but there are a certain number of parts that have to be American parts in order for this gun to be legal. Because if they're not, then technically your gun is illegal, according to the ATFers. So, now, before I get into all that, I just want to say and point out once again, there's a little button on the bottom there. It has a thumbs up, you see that? Click the thumbs up, and then also hit the share button and then share it to your platforms so that, you know, people can also see my beautiful, sexy Benelli M4 that you guys made me insecure about. So when I got the Benelli M4, I always had every intention on customizing it and changing it up and making it appropriate for me. I always looked at this gun from a self-defense perspective, and that's the way that I currently have it set up. So I'm just gonna talk through some of the stuff that I did to the gun. Now, this isn't finished by any stretch of the imagination. There are some things on here, there are some things that are missing from here that I plan to put on here that I'll do a follow-up video on with respect to that.
Before you finish watching this video, I wanna thank today's sponsor, Shields. Shields is an online sports, outdoors, and fashion store that also has 30 physical locations around the country. Shields takes pride in carrying premium brands like Leupold, Sitka, and Mystery Ranch, and more, while providing price matching if you find a better price. So, if you're looking for a new take on the online sports and outdoor retail experience, you should definitely check out Shields, where I put a link in the description section of this video.
So, first and foremost, let's talk about this stock. This beautiful stock is also part of the biggest frustration I have with the Benelli M4, largely because Benelli doesn't make them anymore, so you kind of have to find them on the gray market, and then when you do find them on the gray market, they're pretty damn expensive. And then when you do decide to put it on your Benelli M4, it actually increases the number of US parts that you need to have on your gun in order to make it 922R compliant. This is 922R compliant. For all those secret agents, the 8 secret ATF agents who are watching this video, just so you know, yeah, I have the adjustable stock on here, but I also have American-made trigger pack, American extension tube. It's not really an extension tube, it's a replacement tube for the one that you made them neuter, but we'll get to that. And by and large, at that point, I'm pretty much good to go. So, yeah. Anyway, I wanted this largely for the adjustability and the aesthetics. I think this makes the M4 just look viscerally cool. It just does. And I'm not gonna lie and sit here and say that that isn't a big part of the reason why I have it on here. But I love it also because of the adjustability, because the stock configuration of the stock on the Benelli M4, my arms aren't exactly the longest thing in the world. And so I found myself having to reach just a tad. I could do it, it wasn't a problem. But this makes it damn near perfect. As you can see here, that forearm ratio, perfect. Mwah. And then it just looks beautiful. Then on top of that, I made a couple of other little changes. I have the Terran Tactical safety, I have the Terran Tactical charging handle, and I have the Terran Tactical bolt release. I like the Terran Tactical bolt release because it's big without being too bulky. Same thing with the charging handle. It's bigger and then has knurling on it so that you can get a little more grip on it when you're racking the gun. And then as far as the safety, same thing with the safety. It has this triangle effect, and it makes it easier for me to designate when the gun is on safe and when it's not. A little bit harder to do with the stock safety, but that's neither here nor there. Now let's talk about this trigger. With the trigger, I replaced the trigger, and it's from Freedom Fighter Tactical, and it's an entire trigger kit that I replaced it with. And honestly, this trigger kit, along with this buffer tube extension, which is not an extension, I'll keep saying that, but the trigger pack on this actually makes the trigger about 2 pounds lighter, a little bit more crisp, and I do notice it. However, it does a great job if you're looking for somebody who's trying to be 922R compliant and you want to just drop something in there and minimize the amount of work you need to do. Just get the trigger pack, drop it in there, and then probably add the extended buffer tube, and you'll be good to go. Now, the trigger is really crisp. It is noticeably 2 pounds lighter, and I think it works well with this gun, if I'm gonna be honest. Now, as far as the optic. So for the optic, I wanted something really clean, something really neat, clean, and simple and minimal. Initially, I was gonna put a rail on the optics, as far as put a rail on the actual shotgun and then put my red dot on it. But I wanted something cleaner, and that option came by way of ScalaWorks. So this is a Delta Point Pro on a ScalaWorks mount. And as you can see, it's just so clean, just really clean. And it's sexy, honestly. And I love that about it. And of course, you know, my trusty dusty go-to, my Delta Point Pro. And the beautiful thing about the Delta Point Pro is, and I haven't put it in yet, I can get a rear iron sight for this. Basically, it's rubber, but it still functions like a rear iron sight. I can get a rear iron sight that will co-witness with the front iron sight on this Benelli shotgun. So, yeah. Then we have the rail. What I wanted was, for me, honestly, the rail was more so about changing the look for the sake of changing the look, while also giving me a lot of functionality. Because I actually liked the stock handguard that comes on the Benelli M4. But what I wanted to do was have a lot of options as far as where I place my light. So I came across this Midwest Industries M-LOK rail system that I really, really like. The only problem I have with it, or potential problem, is because I like to do a kind of a thumb over grip on my AR. And because this Benelli M4 functions so much like a AR, I have a tendency to want to wrap my thumb over the barrel. And if that barrel starts to get hot, I could burn myself. And as you can see, there's not really anything covering the barrel. So I do kind of have to modify the way that I hold the gun, because I don't want to go to another rail system that covers the barrel, because I really like the way this looks. With the light, I have the Surefire Scout light. The whole point of the lighting system is obviously to illuminate. And I don't necessarily need a light that's going to illuminate very far, but I just need a light that would illuminate wide, while getting past the fact that it's going to be sitting considerably behind the barrel. So I'm going to get a lot of barrel shadow in my lighting. But I decided to go with one of the bigger Scout lights on the Surefires that threw a wider beam pattern so that it can illuminate a lot more of the space in front of me instead of out in front of me, if that makes any sense. And so I decided to go with this with their new mounting system, which mounts directly to the M-LOK rail. I love this new system from Surefire because it makes everything clean, like I said before. Now, I also have the Surefire pressure pad switch on an M-LOK. So I have a Picatinny rail on my M-LOK rail, and I attach the Surefire pressure pad onto the rail, onto the Picatinny rail. It works. It works. But I'm probably going to change it. I'm probably going to switch it out to maybe like a Unity Tactical push button system to make it a lot cleaner, so that it mounts directly to the rail, lowers the profile of it so you're not getting kind of this wideness here. And then what I am noticing when I'm shooting is I'm getting a little bit of the sharp edges digging into my hand, just a little bit. And then last but not least, the one thing that you all were just making fun of me on over and over and over again in the comment section was my magazine tube. The way this gun comes into the country, it has a 5-round magazine. Well, actually, it is a 7-round magazine, but it has a limiter. So you're only able to put 5 rounds in the gun. Now, the gun is designed to carry 7 rounds. So what I did was I got an extension, I keep saying, I'm gonna call it an extension tube for the sake of the fact that it comes into the country with a 5-round magazine limitation, even though technically it's not an extension. It's a replacement of the neutering, essentially, that happens because of stupid laws. But this carries 7 rounds, and I have it in black, and this is a steel tube, and I got it also from Freedom Fighter Tactical. So now I have 7 plus 1, and if you know how to do weird, funky ghost loading stuff, you could probably get more rounds in there. That's neither here nor there. But by and large, this is my self-defense shotgun if I ever was gonna run a shotgun for self-defense. I do not run currently a shotgun for self-defense. However, if I did, it'll look just like this. Now, I do have plans to put a side sat on here, possibly a round saver as well, and a couple of other things. And when I do that, I'll come back with the follow-up video and show you guys what I've done to the gun at that point too. But for me, This system right here, especially my favorite upgrade on this, has got to be this adjustable stock, because it makes the gun feel so much natural in my hand, and it makes the gun that much more wieldable. Because I talked about in the initial review that the gun was incredibly wieldable and it felt like I was shooting a rifle. Now, even more so with this adjustable stock, because now it fits and it feels more custom to me, custom tailored to my body and the way that I like to shoot. So I can run this gun like an AR for the most part, if we're just gonna be honest. And I really love this thing. I loved it before, but now it's just truly got my heart. And after I completely get done freaking it out, I'm entertaining the idea of changing the color, maybe putting a pattern on it, and really getting it to, you know, kind of pop. But I haven't really decided on that yet because I'm boring and I like everything black. But that's neither here nor there. This is my Benelli M4, partially customized, partially modified. That's a better way to put it. My self-defense, home defense, partially modified Benelli M4. Yeah. You know how frightening it is to think about what happens in the moments before, during, and even days after having to use your gun in self-defense? When you first start carrying a gun for protection, it can be a very scary and nerve-wracking experience, especially if you haven't gotten the education and training you need to feel confident. I've been there myself, hoping I never have to go through a self-defense shooting, which is why I'm a member of the USCCA. As a USCCA member, you can eliminate some of the stress of carrying a gun for protection by accessing the amazing wealth of firearm education, training, and current state-specific gun laws of your state or states you may travel to. This can help you be prepared for, or hopefully even avoid, a self-defense incident. As a bonus, members automatically become insured on the self-defense liability insurance policy purchased by and issued to the USCCA. Click below to learn more. I'm sure the YouTube algorithm is going to do a phenomenal job of suppressing this message. So please share this video with as many people as you can so we can beat the algorithm and get our two-way message out to the masses. Also, don't forget to like this video and leave a comment, and hit the bell and subscribe button.